Hey everyone, I'm Mr. Rage, and we just got some new details from an interview with Marek Rabas, CEO, co-founder, and creative director for Madfinger Games, the developers of Grey Zone Warfare, that was just uploaded hours ago by Rilo Gaming, in which a lot of new details about the game were revealed. I'm going to summarize all of the key takeaways from the interview, but first, smash that like button and subscribe with the notification bell on to keep getting Grey Zone Warfare updates as they come. Now let's get into it. So I'll start with the things we most want to know about. At Early Access launch, which is planned for the first quarter of the year, Marek said the game will have these features: separate PvP-enabled and PvE-only servers. Whether you want to jump in with some friends and go on a mission against AI and don't want to be bothered by other players, or you would like that added element of PvP, you will be able to choose, which is very nice. I'm sure a lot of people are happy to hear that. Rilo Gaming went on to explain as best he could what he was told about the anti-cheat. He says the game will use easy anti-cheat as a starter, and Marek discussed using machine learning anti-cheat that finds macros and aim cheats better and with higher accuracy. They want to include systems to not only ban, but trace that user's digital footprint and ban them again if they try to come back. Marek also told Rilo Gaming how going about getting into a game will work. You'll start by creating a character, joining a faction, creating a lobby, and then inviting players. You'll have to be the same faction to be on the same team, but it was also revealed each of the three factions will have the same gear, and essentially the same gameplay experience. There will be no server browser when you hit play. You enter a new persistent server instance where you will have all of your same stuff. However, the status of the map will be different, like how all the factions are controlling what parts of the map and stuff like that. I'm not a big fan of that, honestly. I was imagining persistent servers where it's a specific world you enter into every time, not a different one, but Marek said if people aren't happy with the just press play and want custom servers in early access, they are willing to rework the system. But there will definitely be custom servers later in development. Each of the three factions have a different specific forward operating base in different areas of the map where you will start, and these are safe zones where initially friendly fire will be disabled, but eventually they will have a karma system, which I will get into more later. There will be no loading screens once you're in the server, and no identifying name tags or HUD elements that will pull you from immersion. You infiltrate and exfiltrate by helicopter to and from landing zones and your safe base. Initially, only your team's FOB, two closest landing zones, and major points of interest will be visible on your map. More points of interest, locations, and landing zones will show up on the map as you discover them. A day and night cycle will not be in the early access release at first. It will be in the first major update though. They plan to update every 6 months after release. The reason a day and night cycle will not be in the game at first is it will bring different gameplay elements that still need to be worked out by the devs, such as AI will take different pathing. They might sleep in camps, take watches, and do night patrols. And speaking of AI, there will be an AI emotion system, meaning if you kill some enemies, the rest might get scared and maneuver or run away. Since there's such an emphasis on PvE, Marek said they want the AI to be as close to having real behaviors and reactions as possible. We all know how hard AI is to make realistic, so we'll see how they do. And something I know everyone is curious about, or should be unless they have the most powerful of PCs, is performance. They are using new proprietary tech, they said, called Scala for environmental elements like foliage, wind, and water. He said it allows them to push the limits that UE5 had, and they have the best rendering people in the Czech, according to him. They don't want anyone to have advantages by removing shadows and things like that, so they're using this tech to boost UE5's capabilities, basically. He said they will be happy if the game runs at 1080p 60 FPS on an RTX 2070, but they are using 10 series GPUs for final optimization benchmarks. So I guess the game should run on 10 series cards? I don't know a lot about that, but GZW will feature DLSS and ray tracing, but Marek said gameplay comes before visuals. Making the game pretty is the last priority. Yes, they want it to look good, but they don't want that to interfere with the gameplay experience. Awesome. Utilizing UE5 and that proprietary tech, Scala, there will be dynamic weather like monsoons, in which areas like rice paddies will flood. The weather will match that of Southeast Asia, which is windy and rainy. The game will have full RPG elements. You will earn XP and unlock new gear. You can also be awarded gear from trader missions. There will also be skills, which I touched on in the last video, but just to explain it a little better, it won't be the traditional RPG style. There will be certification skills where the more you do well with certain actions throughout your organic gameplay, you will eventually go through training, take a test, and get a certification to ensure you really do have the skills you're acquiring and not just farming to get it to the next level. I love this. Finally, get good means something. something. The overall experience Madfinger Games wants us to have is described in other words like role-playing a raid with your friends, taking your time, moving carefully because every move matters, and each team member has a specific role. The gameplay will be much slower than most shooters. The action picks up during firefights, but before that, not so much, so that's a good before you buy. And now I'll go over a bunch of stuff they have planned for the future that will not be in the game at early access release that I haven't already discussed or we've learned a little more detail about. The karma system. They want the player to have major penalties, not just the loss of karma. You will have real in-game consequences. If a team kill is intentional, the victim could report the offender to their faction or talk it out if it was an accident. Getting reported enough will get you kicked out of your faction. You will essentially be rogue at that point and could even become friendly with enemy AI and become a bandit. Maybe pay a bounty and be allowed back in. But they're still looking at ways to do it that don't encourage friendly fire. There will eventually be a central hub where players can trade. They don't want other methods of player-to-player trading where just making money is the goal. They want to encourage human interaction. This is in alignment with their emphasis on realism. At some point, there will be AI-protected bases to capture and take control of, to then possibly be taken over by another faction, and back and forth. Players will have PDAs, which will show members not only of your own team, but of your entire faction. Basically the same equipment an operator would have in the field. And to help with friendly fire and not be immersion breaking, IFF strobe lights will be on friendlies in the future, and each faction will have their statistics tracked across the board. Now, I just want to say, I'm not trying to hype anything, I'm just genuinely excited. I know the gaming industry hasn't been in the best state in a while, so I too am trying to keep my hopes from getting too high. But it was apparent in this interview, Marek Rabas and the entire dev team are very passionate about what they are creating, and Madfinger Games have been very communicative in the Discord with the community. They're building the game with them basically, taking feedback and suggestions. There just seems to be a lot of good faith and hard work involved, and the game has been confirmed to be real at least by content creators who have had exclusive access to tests, but only time will tell. Until then, smash that like button, subscribe with the notification bell on for future Gray Zone Warfare updates, and I'll see you next time.